Hello everybody, my name is CulBlu and I'm bringing out this video of me reviewing a board game, and today I'm going to be doing a review of Adamastor, or Adamastor, or Adamastor, Astometer, I don't know. Adamastor, I think is how you pronounce it. I think it's named after like a mythical creature. But all that's done, let me go ahead and start our background music, and then I'll tell you all about the game and go over the rules, and then we'll talk about how I feel about the game. So, alright, got the background music going because you know I love my background music. So, let's go ahead and look at this game. So, as far as this game goes, this game, Adamastor, is a game where you're trying to, according to the box, explore the sea and survive to tell the stories. So cool, yeah, you're just trying to survive to tell the stories. That's what you're trying to do. And that is the crux of the game. You are essentially exploring the high seas. You are, I think, the stories that you're commissioned by the Portuguese patrons back in the days, and they're saying, hey, go find a path around and, you know, ride these boats and show us a good path. I don't know. Phrasing. But essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to move yourself across the map from point A to point B, and you're trying to not die. You're trying to manage the crises that you face, and you're trying to survive. So, many ways to lose a game. The many ways to lose a game are you run out of cards in your morale deck. So once your deck runs out completely, then you lose the game. Another way to lose is if mutiny happens. Mutiny is essentially a situation to where you have certain symbols that show up. That could be really bad. And yeah, those are the two losing conditions. The winning condition is to make it to the final location on this card, or one of these final location cards. So here's a location card you see here. And you're trying to make it to one of these two land spots on the end of the card. All right, so I kind of have everything here because I was going to talk about setup, go through the teach, and then kind of go through the typical review things. So let me go ahead and go through the setup, the guide through the setup, and then we'll talk about the teach. I'll also do kind of a rolling teach by playing 3 rounds, and then I'll move into the review to talk about things that I liked, things that I didn't like, and things that I can kind of feel neutral about. And then kind of give a rating at the end and a summary of everything. So if you're wanting to see just kind of my review, my feelings of this game, because you have an idea of how it's played, feel free to skip and use the bookmarks if you're watching on YouTube. But if you're wanting to see how to play the game, I'll try to give as cohesive of a rules teach as I can, just enough for you to know everything so I can talk about stuff and have context, and then we'll meet on the other side. All right. So here we have our map cards. These are our standard map cards. There are 3 final location cards, map cards. The final map cards have a giant piece of land and a flag on it. You'll be able to separate those. I don't know why they didn't change backs of the cards, but it's beyond me. But we're going to go ahead and shuffle these, and I'm going to deal out 3 of these. 1, 2, 3, like so. And this is going to be the map I'm going to be playing on. Then I'm going to take one of the final location cards, shuffle those, and then take one of those and add it to the end. There you go. And the rest of these I'm going to put away because I won't need them for the rest of the game. And then I'm going to take my ship, which the game comes with this cool little ship. You can see right there. I'll bring it on the green screen. Nice little ship. Looks like the Pirate Bay. It's glued to like a little puck there. And you'll take your ship and you'll flip over the first map card on the left side. And you'll put your ship on the left side to enter there. So let me go ahead and zoom in so we can have a better view of that. And as you can kind of see here, it's a little bit kind of faint to see, and there's a little bit of glare from the cards, but for the most part, you'll see like these little circles here, these half circles, and you'll see these full circles and these different symbols or different kind of pictographs, if you will, that are inside of the bubbles. We'll talk about those more, but for the most part, your ship will go here. For my playthrough, because I'm overhead camera, I'm going to use this little tiny turtle instead. That's my ship because it's cute. So fight me, please don't fight me. But that's what we're going to use for our little ship there. So that's going to represent where my location is. So that's going to be part 1. Now, like I said before, you're going to be navigating across the high seas, and each of these cards has a different kind of map layout, pattern. We'll learn more about the navigation costs and navigation stuff there as we go along. But here's a navigation cost. Let me go and set up everything else. We're going to go into our deck. This is the sailing deck. And we're going to deal 3 of those here for the adventure row, face up. And we're going to take these cards and we're going to put these in order. So we're going to put these in order based on the number up here. These cards, just to go over the anatomy of these cards are multi-purpose cards. These are the cards that you'll be playing and you'll be kind of dealing with as you go through the game. They have a lot of information on them, and I'll cover the information as it becomes relevant. But the main thing you need to know for right now is that I'm putting these in order from highest number on the far left side, lowest number on the far right side, from left to right, highest to lowest, descending order. That's what the cool kids call it. And you'll see some information, like I said, but we're going to cover that later. Moving from there, we're going to move on down to our hand. We're going to draw 3 more cards. And we're going to draw these cards. These cards are in our hand. So this is my hand of cards. I'm going to take my deck and I'm going to put it back over there. I will be drawing cards from it as I go along. But for right now, this is my hand of cards. So explaining more the anatomy of a card, you'll have a few pieces of information. Those pieces of information will be the number at the top will tell you the priority number for them. That's only relevant for when it's in the adventure row. The other side, the other piece of information will tell you will be if it's an upgrade card, if it has a green tab on the side here. This is a card that can be upgraded to a skill. At a certain point in the game, you'll be able to add skills. At a certain phase in the round, I should say, you'll be able to add skills based on how many compasses you have out here. Secondarily, you'll see these over here. These are events. These are nasty things that can happen. So for here, you see I have 1, 2, 3 skulls in my adventure area. You only count events that are in your adventure area and also in your trauma area, which you'll have added up as you go. Speaking of trauma area, you have a tab on the side of this card here. This one's gray. This is a trauma that you can have, that you and your crew can have, and it will get added to a kind of continuously building stack as I draw all but traumas, like so. And essentially, when you start doing your checks for your traumas and to see if there's any bad things that happen, you'll check. For instance, if we just take the current board state and check it, let's say that we check to see if we can do skills here for our events. We have 1, 2 compasses. That means that we can build a skill. We can skill up in a skill. If we have a card in our hand that has 2 compasses, we do not. We have 3 compasses, so we cannot do that. Next, we go into unrest. We count the number of torches that are here. So we have 1 torch in our traumas. We have 1 torch here in the board and the adventure board. So we only have 2. So we do not have 5. So we do not have to do this bad thing over here. Next, we'll check the disease, which is a skull. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 skulls. So we do not have 5 or more. So we do not do whatever this says. So we get to ignore it. And then finally, we'll check fatigue. So we currently have 0 fatigue. This is the fatigue symbol. We have 0 fatigue. We only consider what's in the adventure row and our trauma row. And that's good. And then finally, we check to see if we have 3 of each. If we have 3 of each, then we lose the game immediately. So we don't want to have 3 of each. So try not to get 3 of each. But essentially, in this case, we have 1, 2, 3 skulls. We have we have 4 skulls. We have 2 torches. Again, we only count the sides here. We do not count that side. So we're good. We pass our event check. We don't die. So that's kind of the symbolism there. The other thing you'll see on these cards, just kind of explaining more of the symbols, is you'll also see, put these cards back, you'll also see that these cards have a number at the bottom. This is your navigation number. This is used for when you are navigating on the board, when you're trying to move on the board. This will determine how many movement points you get, depending on how many cards you discard to get their movement points. So if I were to discard these 2 cards, then I would get 3 navigation points, which I can use to spin to navigate across the sea, depending on which type of land or which type of mass I'm trying to go across. And then finally, you have in the top left corner a very important thing, which is the weather. So we're going to look at that one as we zoom out, because I'm going to start doing my playthrough here. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to bring on this board over here. This board over here is telling you the game turns, the different phases you go through, because you go through 4 different phases every turn, and you'll continuously do this until the game is over. And that's whether you win or whether you die. You just keep going until you die or until you win. And then finally, the weather is the part I was just talking about. So we're going to go ahead and do the weather at the top of the sunrise phase. For the first round of the game, you skip this, but I'm explaining it now because it's relevant. But don't worry, I'll do 3 rounds total, so that way you'll be able to see kind of the flow of everything. But we're going to go ahead and look at our top left corner to see what the weather is. And the weather is currently showing storm cloud, sun. So we go over here to our reference card, and we have storm cloud, sun is going to be sunny. So we'll put a marker to show it's currently sunny. And for that, we get 3 actions. So we get 3 actions. We'll use these tokens here. We'll use these tokens to mark our actions. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. Sorry, got everything just falling apart over here. There we go. All right, fixed it. All right, so we have 3 actions, 3 activations, and now we go into our action phase. So our action phase, we'll be able to do 3 different actions, and I'll just try to run through all 3 of them here just to have fun with it. So first action I'm going to do, knowing that the weather is currently sunny, is I'm going to go ahead and draw a card. So I'm going to spin one of my activation markers, and I now get to draw a card. Done. Look how simple that was. All right, cool. So that was the first kind of action I can do. The second action I can do is I can do a swap a card. So swapping a card, what that does is it allows you to take a card from your hand and swap it with one that's out here in the row, in the adventure row. And the primary benefit for that is so you can change up the symbols and so you can kind of give yourself a little bit more stuff going on. So I actually want to do 2 swaps. Actually, no, that's not true. I can't. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I want to, but I can't. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and just spin another one to draw another card. Now, you know what? I'm not going to draw another card. I'm going to go ahead and do the third action. I'm going to skip swap a card because I don't want to swap a card right now. I'm going to go ahead and do the last one, which is navigate. So I'm going to spin another activation, navigate. So I now can spend however many cards I want. I can discard however many cards I want to my discard. And that allows me to get the activations down at the bottom of it. So I'm going to go ahead and spin this card. And I'm going to spin this card. Now, the reason why I want to spin these 2 cards is because when we look at our board up here, right around here, we see that my boat's down here. This is where I started. And we see some symbolism. We see some symbols kind of. These symbols will determine how much it costs to actually navigate. If we bring our navigation cost card here, if we move over into open water, it costs 2 to move into open water. If we move into fog, it costs 3. If we move on to an island, it costs 3. And then finally, we have the current here. This one, I played wrong originally, so I'm going to explain it correctly now. And actually, now I'm looking at it, I don't want to spin that 2. I want to spin this 1 instead. And I'll explain why here in a second. But this current, if you go with the current, whether, with the current forward or with the current backwards, it will cost you 1 navigation point. But if you go in any other direction, it's going to cost you 4. So, in this case, if you look at the orientation of this current, if I go from here to there, it's going to cost me 1 to move into it. And then I can kind of move from here to there. It's going to cost me 1 to move into that one. Subsequently, if I were over here and let's say I started here, hypothetically, and I were to move from here to here, it costs me 1 to move into that. But then if I were to move from here to there, because I'm not going with the current, as in I'm not coming from this spot to this spot or going to this spot into that spot, it's going to cost me 4 to do so. So all that goes a long way to say that what I need to do is I need to spend 1 navigation point to go from here to there, and then I need to spend 3 navigation points to go from here to there. So that's why I'm spending these 2 cards. And when I do spend those 2 cards, I will end up discarding these cards. And when I do, the order I discard does matter because as I gain morale, it'll allow me to add cards back into my deck for my discard. So I kind of want this card to show up before this card shows up. So I'm going to discard it this way into my discard right there. And it's all done. All right, so I finished my navigation. Now at the end of navigation, if I end on a spot that has an anchor, that will allow me to do a encounter. So the first thing that I do when I do that though, is I'm going to go ahead and mark the spot by saying that, hey, there's a marker to show that I've done it. I can only interact with each anchor once. There's 3 anchors on each card, except for the final card, there's only 2. So there's 3 anchors on each card. And the first thing I do is I'll mark it. The second thing I'll do is I'll be able to gain an experience point, which is very important. I'll explain why. It's a very critical part of the game. And the second thing I'll do is I'll be able to gain 1 morale, which means I'll get to take 1 card from my discard and throw it right there into the bottom of my deck. Now note, whenever I do gain morale, it's added to the bottom of the deck, not the top. And if I ever have to shuffle my deck, sure, it shuffles, but usually you don't end up shuffling your deck unless there's something specific that tells you to do so. Sorry, I had to take a sip of water. All right, continuing on. So we're doing an encounter. So now I go to the encounter deck. This deck, these cards are double-sided, but in order to stop me from knowing ahead of time what's coming up, I'll draw from the bottom of the encounter deck. And then based on which side I'm on, as in if I'm on land or if I'm on water, I'll do that. So looking at the anchor that I'm on land, so I'm going to do the top part of the card. So now I'm going to read through the card. A local helmsman was kidnapped by the pirates. His family asks for your help. So now I do the text. I get to choose my adventure here. So this one says, oops, sorry, I'm trying to get the glare out of the way. It's always in the way. There we go. attempt the rescue. So I can choose either to attempt the rescue, navigate to the next C encounter space this turn, discard the lowest value card on the adventure row and gain it as a trauma if it is a trauma, or place it in the discard pile if it's a skill, and then flip this card to add it to the adventure row. If you fail to reach it in this turn, simply remove this card from play. That'll suck. Or ignore the please. Shuffle this card back into the encounter deck. Well, I want to be the good Samaritan, and also I kind of want to do all of the adventures anyway. So, actually, I don't know if I can. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to afford to. I have to do it this turn. It says, attempt the rescue, navigate to the next sea encounter space this turn. Oh man, that sucks. All right, well, we're gonna have to ignore the plea. The reason why is because I don't have enough movement points. If you're looking at how many movement points it's gonna take for me to go from here to there, that's gonna be 7. I need 7. I currently have 3. So it is impossible with 1 activation left to do so. Even with the experience I have over here, it's not gonna help me. All right. So unfortunately, we're going to have to ignore that one, and we're going to shuffle this back into the deck. And there we go. That is the end of the encounter. Sad that I couldn't be a hero, but you can't save everybody. You can't save everybody, Carl. Kudos if you get the reference there. Alright. So moving back on to the rest of things. So I'm done with that turn. My encounter has ended. I got a nice little experience point. I didn't talk about experience, but I'll talk about it now. The experience is something that's really huge for the game. It's kind of critical for you to have it so you can, get yourself out of a bind. But essentially, on a single map card, whenever I do a first encounter, I will get 1 experience. If I do 2 encounters, so the second encounter I do on the same map card, as in on this single same map card, I'll get 2 XP. Then third one I'll get 3. But in this case, I only got 1 because it was my first encounter. And then I can spend XP at any moment during my turn to either gain 1 morale, so add 1 card from my discard back to my deck, to gain 1, or I can spend 2 to gain 1 extra action, so I can spend 2 of the experience points to get a free additional action, and then finally I can spend 3 of those experience to remove 1 trauma from play, which is very critical because I've had situations where I need to do that. Otherwise, I would have been in a lot of hurt. So in that case, we're done with that. So I'm feeling pretty reasonable about things that are how things are going. I'm gonna go ahead and spend my last one on drawing a card. Nice, perfect. All right, so that's it. So now we're done with the action phase. Now we're gonna move over to the events. So the events, we're gonna go ahead and do this. We're gonna zoom in because why not? So for the events, we're gonna go ahead and check our events. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to look at the events card here. And we're going to check for skills. So if we have 2 or 3 navigation tokens, markers, we can learn 1 skill from our hand, assuming it matches the cost. So in this case, we happen to get this card, and I think we will do that for demo purposes. We have 1, 2 navigations, so we're going to learn this card. We're going to add this card as a skill. It's going to get added to the side. I'm just going to put it right there. And my skills will give me this permanent effect for the rest of the game, which in this case, it allows me to ignore 1 skull when I'm checking for my my bad stuff. So that's pretty good. So next, we're done with the skill. We can only do 1 skill per turn. Next, we're going to do this, which is a check for torches. We have currently 1 torch. Remember, we do not count our hand. We only count our traumas that we have, and we also count any cards that are up here. So in this case, we only have 1 torch. So, and also this is not active, so we're just looking at that spot there. So no unrest. Next we check for disease. So we have 1, 2, 3 skulls. Remember, we get to cancel 1, so we only have 2 skulls. So that's cool. So no disease. 5 or more, we would have to do whatever this negative effect is. And then finally we have fatigue, which again, this is the fatigue symbol here. So if we have 5 fatigue, then we lose 3 morale, but we do not have any fatigue at all, so we're fine. And then finally, mutiny is if you have 3 of each symbol, then you lose the game immediately. So I don't have 3 of each symbol. We're fine. We get to move on. Cool. All right, so I'm glad we established that. All right, so we're done with our event check there. Now we do sunset. So we take the card that's lowest here, because remember we order these from lowest to highest. The card that's lowest here gets discarded. If it's a trauma, it gets added to our trauma stack. If it's not a trauma like this card, it just gets discarded into our discard pile. But for this one, it was a trauma, so it's going to be added here, and these will eventually stack up and become really bad and cause problems. as one knows, as it does, as traumas do. So that's going to be it for that. Now we're going to make sure we have 3 cards in our hand. We currently only have 2 cards on our hand. This is a skill. It doesn't count towards our hand limit. It's just off to the side. It's a skill. And then finally we go back into the start. So we're going to go back into the sunrise phase. We're going to draw a card, like so. And we're going to look at the number. So 25. So it's going to go right here. And then we're going to check the weather. So the weather, we're going to have 1 of each symbol. So because we have 1 of each symbol, we're going to actually end up in, right here, cloudy. Nice. So not bad. So it's currently cloudy. We're going to get 3 actions. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to continue our turn. So this is turn 2. We'll do this turn and then 1 more turn, and then I'll finally do the review part. If you feel like you have enough information, feel free to jump to the review. But if you are still trying to learn things, feel free to stick around because we might run into something weird. Because it always happens. All right, so I want to go over there to do an encounter, and I also want to do this encounter way down here. The question is, do I really want to move all the way down here? I mean, I have to if I want to get there. But that's expensive. That's a 2, 4, 6, 7 plus 3. That's 10 to get down there. It might be easier to go around this way. So I'm going to try to go from here to there to get that encounter, because I want to get those encounter spots. That's my goal. Maybe not be your goal. Your goal might be just a race to the end. You can do that, but I like doing little story things. It feels fun. Nice and adventurous, you know? So I'm going to spend 1 of my markers to draw a card. Okay. That was not helpful. It's a 1. So I'm going to spend 1 of my encounter tokens to swap. Nope, draw a card. It is a 1 again. Oh man, I end up with a lot of 1s here. Alright, well, I don't think I can get away from it, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to push through. This is a 4, this is a 3, that's a 7. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5. That is shameful stuff. So, We're still gonna do a move. We need 4 to get into that spot, so we can spend 4. It's gonna be very expensive for us, but we're gonna do it. So we're gonna use this as a navigate. We're gonna spend 4. So it's gonna be 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna spend all these small cards here. And I kind of don't want to, because these have the navigation tokens. Distress. All right, we're gonna keep this one. Nope, we're gonna keep this one, and then toss this one. All right, there we go. We're spending 4. And we're going to arrange them in this way. We're going to discard them like so. And we're going to move from here to there. We've done it. By George, we've done it. And that's it. That's our entire turn. So we're out of activation markers. We're going to go ahead and move on to the events phase. So we're going to check. We have only 1 marker here. We don't even have any things to upgrade, so we're fine. We're going to check the rest of our stuff. We have unrest. Excuse me. Unrest, we only got 1. Disease, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Not great, but we're not dead. We're not having diseases. Fatigue, we have no fatigue, so we are fine. And we have no mutiny because we do not have 3 of each symbol. All right, so we passed that. Now we're going to take this card added here. We're going to make sure I have less than 3 cards, and then we're going to draw top of the next round, last round that we'll be demoing here. Oh, sorry, this card's here. This is a 39. Okay, and we check the weather. So we have storm, storm, cloud. So that's going to be storm, isn't it? Yep, we're in a storm. That's not great. Oof, bad stuff there. All right, so for the storm, we're going to get 2 activations. And whenever we navigate, it's going to be +1 navigation. And +1 navigation means that whenever I move from here to here, so if I were into 1 navigation round, try to move from where I am to, let's say, down here. And I went this path. So it's going to cost me 3 normally, and then 3 more, so 6 to get there. But because it's going to be a +1 per navigation, it's going to actually be 4 for this one, because it's 3 + 1, and then 4 again, which is 3 + 1. So it's going to be +1 for every move, and that's going to be really brutal. So really brutal state of affairs, but we're gonna try to make the best of it. We want to try to get a 4 so we can get into that spot, because we really want to get there and kind of get moving along. So we're gonna spin this, and fingers crossed we can get a 3. We got a 1, wasn't a 3. Okay, so since we're in here, we're gonna pivot from that, and we're gonna try to make our fate a little bit better, because I don't like what's kind of stacking up over here. So let's try to get ourselves the ability to get an upgrade. So we're gonna go ahead and spin this to swap this. Yeah, either of these are gonna end up getting added to our stack. We're gonna swap this one for this one, like so. And that's gonna be it. A very uneventful 3rd round. I'll do a 4th round just so we can have a little bit more fun. But continuing on here, that's gonna be it. Reorder these, and that's gonna be it. So now we're gonna do our events. We check, we have 2 compasses. We're gonna add this card here to our stack because it is cost 2, or it costs 2. It allows me to ignore 1 torch, which is gonna be really nice. Moving from there, we're gonna do this. Unrest, we have torches, 1, 2. We can ignore 1 torch, so we have only 1 torch. So no unrest. Disease, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 skulls. We can ignore 1 skull, so we have 3 skulls. And then finally, fatigue, no fatigue, so we're fine. No mutiny. That's gonna be it for the round. And now we move on to the next part, which is discard this card. And then we draw this card, and we add it right there because it's a 3. And we're on to the next round. What's the weather? The weather is better, thank goodness. The weather is much better. So we're at cloudy now, or sorry, turbulent waters now. So we're at cloud, white cloud, storm cloud, and that's gonna give us 3 activations. Still +1 navigation, which is not great, but at least we get our 3rd action back. All right, we're gonna go ahead and continue our journey here to draw a card. That's a 1 again. We're gonna draw another card. Ooh, that's a good one. Each skill costs 1 less. All right, so we're gonna spend our last action to swap this card for this card. And then we're gonna order things. Things are ordered properly. Perfect, all right. So this is kind of set myself up for the future. So this is gonna be it. I'm not gonna do a 5th round because I'm not gonna get sucked into doing a full playthrough. Feel free to check out my other videos if you wanna see my playthroughs there. But we're at the end of it. So now we're gonna move over to the, a swap. I didn't explain a swap. A swap is essentially take a card from my hand and swap with the card here and then reorder. Pretty simple, straightforward. I forgot the whole purpose of me doing that was to show a swap, but now we move on to the events. We check our skills. We have 1, 2, 3 compasses. So we can now get a skill of 3 compasses, which is this one. This one makes my skills cost 1 less, which is even better. So that means that I will be able to get cheaper skills in the future. Too bad this is the last turn. Then we check our unrest. We have 1, 2, 3. I can ignore 1 torch, so only 2. Then we have our diseases, 1, 2, 3. I can ignore 1 skull, so we only have 2. The fatigue, we have 1, and that's it. So that's gonna be it. So that's kind of it. We still do our normal stuff. We throw this card over here. We draw another card, and we kind of keep going until we get to the end. And as you can see, we're kind of fighting against nature. We're kind of fighting against the random of the cards. We're trying to get ourselves upgraded and skilled up. And we have a lot of things going for us on this game. So that's actually going to bring us perfectly into the things that I like about this game. So for the things that I like about this game, I do like the fact that this game does feel like an adventure in hindsight. I did do a previous review, but I taught some rules wrong, and I kind of went back and redid it. That's what this video is me redoing my review. But essentially, in the previous review, I kind of talked about a little bit about the random versus not random, and I still have feelings about that in my cons that I'll talk about in a secon. Or sorry, after I finish this section. But I will say that I do kind of like the adventure that you end up feeling in this game. I feel like as you go along and as you do the encounters have flavor text. The flavor text can let you kind of have different feels, and different events are randomly happening, and things that you can say kind of make sense. You can even make a full story out of if you really wanted to. I'm not going that deep into it myself. You also have every card has its own little title here. So if I bring up this card here to try to at least attempt to read it here, you'll see here this one's called 6 Sailors Continue to Die. There's some flavor text down here that says, each day another sailor slips away, their fever dreams extinguished in the cold grip of despair. But it kind of gives you some flavor text, things that are kind of relevant to the card, and things that if you're on a ship and you're trying to go in this time period, the Age of Discovery period, and you're trying to go across the seas and trying to find new paths and the new world with the new world with air quotes, you know, these are things that you would assume that people would experience, things that people have written about historically, and it makes sense. You know, these things are kind of thematic, they fit into it, and it just makes you feel like you're having a great sense of adventure as you're going along, despite the fact that all you're really doing is kind of moving along a card with like a little token moving across. So it feels nice about how much space there feels to be in this game, like exploration space. And then the fact that these cards are face down as you go along. Yeah, all the cards, you can eventually see all 15 of the base cards and then all 3 of the end cards. But the different combinations really do impact the game greatly. I can speak on my playthroughs, because if you're watching this video, the history of me doing my playthroughs, essentially I did a playthrough that I played a rule incorrectly, that I redid eventually, which is what I did previously. And then I did an advanced playthrough where I'd say, okay, let me play it more. So long story short, I have 2 correct playthroughs. You'll have seen the previous playthrough already. This is the review, and then you'll see another playthrough later at some point in the future. But all that goes along with to say that in those playthroughs, in all those playthroughs, I had vastly different games. One of my playthroughs I had that was very rough. It was just everything was just, you know, dumping on me. It kept being a storm. Tempest showed up, and it was just awful with the cards that came out, how they came out. I kept getting low numbers, and I couldn't really make anything work out. So I had to just kind of force my way through to either survive or die, and I ended up in a situation to where it was dire. It was dire, and it stayed dire, and it never became less dire. And I kind of felt appreciative of that experience, because I previously had a game to where it's just like everything worked out perfectly. I drew the right cards at the right time, and I just kind of blazed on through the entire game. And it felt like, is this game too easy? And then the game quickly reminded me, no, it's not too easy. It's just you happen to get really lucky with your draws. So that kind of feels nice to know that there's that adventure space inside of it. It also feels nice to know that there's kind of enough mechanicking here to where you can have easy games where you just glide on through. You can also have very difficult games where you have to like slog and make some really hard decisions about what's going on. And that's a huge testament for a game that is doing what it's doing with the number of cards. There's only 124 cards, I think, total. And of those 124 cards, a number of those are for the campaign cards. Because there's a campaign mode in this game where you play 3 games. You carry stuff from game to game, and you can do different campaign playthroughs. So it's just a lot to go in. So like when I go into things that I like about this game, I think the thing that I like the most about this game is the game itself, and kind of how it presents itself, and like what it lets you do, and the feeling it gives you. I appreciate those things. I think it's a puzzle that is really engaging, and it's a game that really justifies kind of the solo. Yeah, you play it by yourself, but it gives you like a really tough challenge with the chaos that happens when the cards that show up. But it doesn't leave you abandoned with ways to not do it. And just to say it quite frankly, in this game, if you ignore the encounters, if you ignore the different anchor abilities here, if you ignore those, you're just gonna have a hard time. The game is just gonna be so difficult. It's gonna be barely playable. like you really need to go do some encounters. Either make it your mission to do an encounter or 2 on each card, and you'll probably have a reasonable time. And if you don't, it's your water funeral, as they say. So that is kind of my pros on the game. Essentially, the adventure space feels really good. I feel like there's a lot going on to where the puzzle feels compelling, and it doesn't feel like it's just giving me like a free win every single time. It also doesn't feel like it's just like, slogging on me the whole time. It gives me tools to help me fix those problems and address them as I go along. So that's going to be my pros there. Going into the cons, one of the biggest cons that I still have, and I know I kind of mentioned it just recently, like just 20 seconds ago, but one of the cons I still have is I don't know what the longevity of this game is, because as I played, I felt like I saw a lot of the same things, and I don't want to say that means this game is very samey. I do want to say that from my first, let's say, my very first 2 playthroughs of this were half playthroughs, and then I did a playthrough where I did rules incorrectly, a full playthrough. There's the video, you're not going to see the video of that one. And then I did another playthrough where I did the correct rules. I corrected my mistakes and fixed it up. And then I did another playthrough to where I redid my first playthrough. So what I'm trying to say is in my 3 playthroughs where things were going correctly, I had a situation to where I kind of saw some of the same cards, I was kind of like, didn't I see this card already? Was it this game or last game? I don't remember. And I did all these back to back to back to back. So like within the same 5 hour time period, I played all these, and it felt very samey, and it made me wonder if the game is just going to end up kind of, just, oh, I've seen this one before, or I know what's going to happen next, and here's clearly I'm going to flip the card over and get the bonus that I know is on the back of this card. But I guess you can kind of say that for any other game. So that's a concern I still have. That's why I'm throwing into the cons here. I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue as I felt it was going to be, though, because when I did my last playthrough, where things were just disaster.com, when I did my last playthrough, or well, the first playthrough you saw, essentially I saw different things because I ended up going about things in a different way. So because I kind of took a different path, because the game was kind of forcing me into a different path because of the struggles and the turmoil and the traumas and all the bad things I was facing, I had to make some really, really, really terse decisions or hard decisions. And the game ended up showing me different things that came along. So I do appreciate that. I just don't know, like if things are going perfectly, then you're going to see the perfect events and you're going to see the same perfect events, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know. I'm going to keep that in the cons. I'm going to keep that in the cons. What I'm trying to say is that I don't know how much variety exists with the current stack. You don't make it through the entire stack. You maybe interact with maybe 20 of these at most. Actually, let me take it back. You don't interact with 20 because there's a finite number. There's three of these anchors on each card, and there's 2 on the last one. So 3, 6, 9, so 11. So at most, you can have 11. If you play the longer game, the harder game, you add 1 more map card, so you add 3 more. So at most you can have 14. So you have 14 encounters. You only see 14 of these cards. I mean, there's a lot of these cards. I don't know how many of these cards are. It's probably 50. Oh, no, I lied. There's 45. I think it's 45 of these. Where's the rulebook? As I take a sip of water as well. I think the rulebook tells me how many there are. Yeah, 45. Okay, I had it right. So there's 45 of those, and because there's 45 of these, you only see 14 at most. So once you play the game 6 times, you might see everything. So that sounds about right. Okay, right. I don't know. Clearly, I'm workshopping through the cons here because like that con of like I don't feel like there's enough variety here. I feel like it kind of died down once I did my other playthrough and I saw different things. Again, there's land and there's also sea. So technically, these 45 are actually 90. Because there's land and sea, so there's different things that you can see, different things you can interact with. I don't know. All I'm saying is that I hope there's going to be expansions for this game, because I would like to continue playing this game. I would like to continue exploring this world. I would like to continue kind of existing in the verse, but I don't think there's an expansion that has been talked about. And I do think this is a second edition of another game, or a reprint of another game from 2022. This one came out in 2025. Just going back to my forums to double check and make sure I'm not lying to us here. There we go. Adamastor. Yeah, this one came out in 2025, the one I'm currently playing. And the previous one was 2017. Oh wow, I didn't know it was that long ago. Jeez. Yeah, so I hope there's going to be expansions. I hope there's going to be more to kind of give you something to sink your teeth into. There is a campaign, and the campaign does add some stuff. However, I always call it a con, and I'll throw this into the con section before I move on to the rest of the things. I always call it a con when the game like kind of locks half the game behind the campaign. Like I get it, the campaign is like more creative stuff, it changes things up, but there's also a rule that if you have some of the campaign titles, because there's titles in this, as you can see here, there's title cards. If you play with for every 2 title cards you play, you have to add a different map card or add a new map card to make the game a little bit harder, because the title cards give you some abilities to kind of break the rules in a really cool and awesome way. But the only way you unlock the titles is by playing through the campaign and winning the campaign. So you need to play through the campaign multiple times if you want to unlock all the titles. And I think all the H cards here are titles. Don't quote me on that though. So there's 4 different titles, 5 different titles you can have. Assuming that the H cards are titles. I don't want to spoil it for anybody or myself, further than what I've already spoiled for myself. But what I'm trying to say there is that, there's extra play in the game. It's just in the campaign side of things. I will play through the campaign eventually, but it's just always like a, I don't know. I never feel good when like the rest of the game is hidden behind the campaign. I get it. The campaign is its own side of the game, but also when I'm playing the solo, like let me just unlock everything immediately. Kind of like Revive. You could unlock it piece by piece, or you can just unlock everything immediately. I appreciate that. Space Base did the same thing. You could unlock each thing piece by piece, or you can just unlock everything immediately. But even in those games, I still have problems with how they did their system. But all right, okay, cool. All right, I'm rambling. Let me move on to kind of the review, or not the review, the actual rating part. So if I were to give this game a rating, I would go ahead and give this game a 7.5 out of 10. The main reason why I would give it a 7.5 out of 10, I could easily see this slipping down to like a 7. But 7.5 is because I really did enjoy my experience with it. I really do think that there's enough space in this game for me to feel comfortable just kind of exploring and kind of being immersed in the story. Maybe listen to like some pirate TV show or some pirate movie in the background as I kind of play through and experience what's going on, or just listen to like an audiobook in the background. But ultimately, I kind of like the challenge that it gives you, and I feel like it's a good balance of like Crisis, where you're trying to manage this ever-growing stack of traumas. You're trying to manage this ever-dwindling stack of cards. I mean, I've only played 3 rounds here, or 4 rounds here, and you can see here we got this many cards already gone. I mean, we only have this many cards in my stack, which I guess it's still a lot of cards, but still, this deck is 40 cards deep. So we're already down to, I'm not going to count all these, but we're down to like half the stack with a number of cards in the discard, a number of cards in play, a number of cards over here as traumas and skills, and it's just kind of like a culling of cards that you kind of see a dwindling and dwindling morale for your team, and you're trying to keep them supported. So I really like that feeling. I really like those things, and for me, that kind of pulls me back into a 7.5. But again, I can see this slipping down to a 7, especially if I end up feeling like, it feels very samey, kind of same game I played last time. Like, give me something a little bit different, give me a different look. I would have liked it if there was a way to have different boats or something, because I think that would be cool. Maybe have like a boat with a power that gives you like some innate power that lets you ignore one mutiny or something, or is it, once a game ignore mutiny once. Maybe that's where the titles come in. The titles can give you that. But again, I have not explored the campaign, so I cannot speak on that side of things. Actually, that's not true. I have looked at the campaign cards. Let me go look at them. I'm not going to tell you about them, or I'm not going to show them, but I'll look at them. But as far as the titles go, let me see. Oh yeah, so reading through the titles kind of give you the ability to kind of break the rules a little bit, and reduce the cost of things, make things a little bit more efficient. So sure, I think the titles are maybe what I'm looking for. So I'll go explore that on my own. So 7.5 is where I keep it at. There's no longer at risk of slipping down to a 7. So there you go, just kind of workshop through it. Live here from New York. No, I'm joking, not New York, I'm in North Carolina. But what I'm also trying to say, though, is that I do like what this game is offering. I do feel that there are times to where things become hard and harsh. But again, that's kind of the point of the game. You're on a boat. You're trying to fight through the traumas. You're trying to keep your crew in line. You're trying to stop them from going on full mutiny on you. And you're trying to survive. And I do feel the survival aspect of this game. I do appreciate how it expresses it, because again, it gives you kind of enough time to kind of plan things out. It gives you enough agency as a player to manipulate things. There was a situation to where I ended up with really bad weather, so I just kind of spent around to kind of say, hey, look, I'm gonna take these cards in my hand and I'm gonna put some suns out there, so that way next round I can hopefully end up with better weather. And then I prevailed on that. So it felt good that I can kind of like, okay, I have a problem, and the problem is the weather's really gonna screw me over next round. How can I make this weather better? Or how can I move my ship to where I'm out of the bad spot? There's legitimately, let me go and just reveal the next card here. There's legitimately these storms here, and these storms will essentially cause problems. What it does is whenever you run into a storm, it will basically turn one of your white clouds into a storm cloud. So that will essentially turn, if my ship were here when I was doing the check for weather right there with the current board state, I would not be in turbulent waters. I would instead be in a storm. And the reason why is because I have one storm cloud, I have one white cloud, which is turned to a storm because of that. So I have 2 storm clouds and a sun, which puts me into a storm, and the storm puts me into a bad situation because I have 2 actions and 1 navigation cost, plus 1 navigation cost. Yeah, those things can happen, but it gives you the space to kind of, okay, how can I solve this problem? How can I fix it? How can I make this better for myself? How can I improve my standing Like, do I need to spend it all right now just to move over? Like, I know it's gonna cost +1, but I really need to get out of the storm, and I just move my boat over. And it's thematic, you know. Sometimes you gotta wait it out. Sometimes you gotta just like move yourself over. Sometimes you gotta prepare. Sometimes you gotta just hope you get a 3 and draw nothing but ones. Yeah, it's a game that kind of plays in a realistic way, and I appreciate that greatly. So I'm kind of rambling on the whole thing, but what I'm ultimately trying to say is that this game is enjoyable. I like it a lot. 7.5 is what my rating will be, for all the reasons that I've said and more. And yeah, this is just a game that just kind of falls into a very interesting spot. I don't have any specific comparisons for this game outside of ones that I've heard about, which would be Nemo's War. Nemo's War. And with Nemo's War, I kind of wanted to play it, but I kind of didn't want to play it. But I feel like maybe there's a comparison somewhere for this game. I can check Board Game Geek to see if anybody else has said anything about that, and I'll do that. So we'll see if Namor's War and Adamastor are mentioned in the same sentence. Looks like it's not quite there. But I wouldn't be beyond trying to play Namor's War so I can just compare, or Nemo's War. I keep saying Nemo's War, just so I can kind of compare it to this game. Because if this is the experience that something like Nemo's War would give us, I think I'll be more than interested in trying out that game, because I love the experience here, and I think Nemo's War goes a lot deeper into it. So I'm mentioning all that because I don't know if anybody else has made the comparison, but I will make the blind comparison here. That from what I've heard about Nemo's War, from what I heard about how it flows and how it goes, where you're dealing with the traumas, you're dealing with the crew, and it's really more of a crew management puzzle where you're trying to like stay alive as opposed to a submarine fighting type style thing. I feel like I might enjoy that. So I think I'll definitely look into it, and I feel like this game, as this experience, crunched into like a 90-minute experience instead of like a way longer experience from what I heard Nemo's War is. I think I like the space that this exists in, and I think I will most definitely keep this on my shelf for sure. So all that goes a long way to say that I'm gonna check out Nemo's War. This game inspired me to check out Nemo's War, but I also like what this game is doing, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this game grows in the future and how I can kind of be a more efficient sailor as I go along. Or maybe I won't. I don't know. Maybe I'll just continue to die. We'll see. All right. So with all that said, let me go ahead and close up things there. The overall summary of things is that I like the game. 7.5 is what my rating would be. Big pro for me is that the adventure space feels fun. Big con for me is that I worry about the longevity of the game. We'll see as time goes if that holds or if that just folds. But for the most part, though, yeah, it's a great game. I think it's definitely worth the, $40 I paid for it? Yeah, definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. Would recommend. All right. So thank you all very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope it was informative. And as always, I will see you all whenever.